Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We got a Riviera. I keep wanting to say Buick Riviera because I'm a hot rod car guy too. But it's an Epiphone Riviera P93. Took me a moment to figure out what P93 meant, but I'm going to show you now. So this victim came to me with a broken headstock. We've already repaired that. Repaired it, I mean by repairing it, I mean we reattached it. It was so close, and let me get back here where I can show you. The fracture was so clean and so shallow that there really isn't a whole lot of space to route it out and put biscuits in here. It would have interfered and gone into the face of it. I generally don't do that sort of thing anyway. The fracture crack is still going to show, but it's as solid as the day it was made. However, I will qualify that with the caveat that this poor guitar is going to have to live with a safety helmet on the rest of its life, because all it's going to take is one time coming off of a guitar stand or somebody bumping it. And if it hits just right, it's going to snap off right in that same spot and probably do way more damage, because now there is some glue and all kinds of stuff in there. But I digress. It is together. It peeled off a lot of the paint and finish up here. It was kind of in a flat shelf, and I got that reattached as well. It was not a perfect repair, and when I initially looked at it, I didn't think it could be. Some people will disagree with that, and yes, there are people out there who can do, fix these and make them look like you wouldn't even be able to tell. I'm not one of them. I'm not gonna pretend that I am. But this guitar is gonna play and make music again, and it should be a lifetime repair. Should be a lifetime repair as long as it doesn't take another hit. All that being said, guitar needs a complete setup. We're going to restring it. We're going to clean the frets. We're going to oil the board. My usual thing. They're probably going to take a little extra time on these frets because, they're pretty grungy. P93. P90s. And there's 3 of them. Pretty interesting. This reminds me the Riviera configuration, the hollow body that it is. I had a 64. Many of you have seen the video series. There was a lot of videos on that. It was a complete restoration. It was a 64 Riviera 12-string that we completely dismantled and did a restoration on it. You can search it on my channel. It's pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, we're going to move forward. I'm going to put this back in, get that. I'm going to take off the Bigsby so that I can clean this. I'm going to take the pick guard off. I really want to clean this up nicely for him, because it looks like it's been rode hard and put up wet. And if we're not going to do it now, when? You follow? So stand by while let me just put this in while you guys are watching. There's a bushing on one end, and the tuner just kind of goes back in. Interesting, this is not a super expensive guitar. That doesn't mean anything to me. It's an instrument, it's a customer, and it's going to play really well when I get finished with it. But the Epiphone script on the front of the guitar and the sticker inside is meant to mimic the old days of Epiphone. And it's pretty cool. It's not a bad instrument at all. It's actually, the build quality is pretty decent on it. Double binding, really nice color. In fact, the one that I did was actually this same exact color, although it was 60 years old. That's in there. I'm going to now dismantle and clean first, so you see how grungy and nasty it is now. When we come back, I will have taken this off, cleaned it, and then we'll get back together putting that back on. So stand by. So nice and clean. As you can tell, even the camera's picking up on that. We cleaned all this up, took the pick guard off, and the reason I like to do that is because nobody else does it ever, to clean under there. And yeah, there was a dead mouse under there, sort of. And like I always say, not now, when? Don't give a dirty guitar back. Take the time, at least wipe most of the stuff off that will come off. I'm not going to restore the entire guitar. I'm going to take the time and clean it up. Can't stand a dirty instrument. Guitars get dirty, especially ones like this. It's got all this weird gear on it. Pick guards and Bigsby's, and you know, it's quite a thing to have to take it apart and clean it. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't mind. We'll get to the meat and potatoes here in a few minutes. There was just caked gook underneath the pick guard and underneath the Bigsby. I'm going to wipe that down too a little bit, probably. It's just a catch-all for everything that flies in the air or drips off of your while you're drinking your beer. Had a lot of comments on the Mandingo, the Charango. It's a little 10-string mandolin type South American, interesting little instrument, cross between a mandolin and a ukulele, I would say. But boy, a lot of interest in it all of a sudden. People were digging on it. You never know what's going to hit the bench from day to day. So, get this screwed, but I want to keep this taped so it does not keep flopping off, and they love to. I'll put the spring in it later. Not a big fan of Bigsby trem systems, but I gotta say they're easier to work with as far as tuning, not so much stringing, as you'll see here shortly. Gotta run the string through there, under there, around the damn thing, and then get it over the saddle. And of course, when you're cleaning it, the saddles get all moved around, but that's all part of the setup. And we're going to check. By the way, I plugged in off camera to check our 5-way switch. It's set up similar to a Stratocaster type instrument, but it's completely backwards. You would think that in that position would be the bridge. No, that's the neck. And that is the bridge. I don't know why they did that. If I was making this guitar, I wouldn't do it that way. Okay, so I am going to start cleaning the frets. I'm going to show you the front part as I usually do, and then disappear you for a little while I do the whole process, because it's very time consuming and it takes a long time. And this one, I think I'm going to have to do a couple of times. But we start with some really fine. This is just to get the first part off, and it pretty much will get most of the crap off of the top of it. But then I'm going to go to different grits of micro mesh. And then the last step is going to be to polish them with a little bit of polish on each fret. And there's a lot of taping involved and all this and that. And once I get a few of these done, I'll show you some of the process. I think I showed you on one of the other guitars I was working on, but this is how I start it. Sometimes I'll do just this part and then polish them, but it depends on what they look like. Let's get a good look at them. Now, this guitar is not that old, so it may not be as bad as... they're shining right up. Yeah, they're shining right up. So I'm going to continue this process, and then we're going to polish. We won't need the micro mesh. There isn't any damage there yet. The instrument isn't that old. And then, yeah, condition the board, and then the last step is to polish them, and yeah, we're done. They're not nearly as bad as I thought. Yeah, they're going to shine up very nicely. So I'm going to stop there because, yep, got to save a little video time. And I will finish this part and then get to the oiling and polishing and what have you. Stand by. So I wanted to get into the middle of the process here. I start with about a 6 to 800, and then I move to these micro mesh, and I get them from, well, you know who. And I thought getting these because I've always used Fred erasers, but I got to tell you, I'm really falling in love with these. They're micro mesh dual angle. You can get down on the side of the fret, the top of the fret, the end of the fret. Excuse me. So I'm fighting a cold, by the way. Start with a little bit of rough stuff. That takes it off. You know, the coarsest they have here is 1500. This is about 800, and and that's still more coarse than I would usually use, but there was a lot of gook on there. And then I went right to the medium, and wow, what a difference. I mean, I'm just really impressed with this product, and they don't endorse me. I'm not getting paid. I won't mention any names, but their initials are Stumac. That's where I got these. I'll let you in on a little secret. If your wife goes to the salon and gets the mani-pedi, these things are very similar to the things that they use, the women use in those places. I'm going to let you know, the coarse one is, coarse is 15 to 1800, fine is 4000, medium is 24 to 36, fine is 4 to 6,000, and then ultra fine jumps up 8 to 12,000. That doesn't mean it's two-sided. It just means, yeah, well, it is two-sided. There's different sides to it, but basically this is some unbelievable stuff. Get your sand off of there, and make sure your hair. I gotta get a better brush. I keep saying that. So they're not done. I'm still going to polish them by hand. What we do have to do, because damn, that board is dry. And many of you have seen this process. Well, I'm doing this for those of you who haven't seen it, and, well, the owner of this instrument. Some people just don't know what happens with their guitar when it goes to the guitar guy. Yeah, we started with a real problem on this one. The headstock was broken. Yeah, we fixed it. This guitar is going to make music again, and it's going to be better than it ever was, believe it or not. It may not look quite as pretty in this general area, but guess what? The rest of it's going to be standing tall, and it's going to make music, and it's going to be stable, and it's going to hold tune. I have faith. You see the difference what happens. I always say that. Big reveal moment. Linseed oil. Don't go crazy. You don't need a whole bunch of it, but you need some of it to get on there, to fill in all the little imperfections, to make the wood breathe again and be alive. Even though it's not a living tree anymore, it is still wood and it needs to be cared for. I'm going to pause here again because I want to let this sit on there for at least 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And then we'll take off the excess, let it soak in what it's going to soak in. And after a few minutes, you'll be watching it and you'll see all the dry spots where this board was really dry. So it's going to take in a lot of it. Just keep applying it a little bit. Just what's left over on the rag. You don't have to keep putting more oil on it. That's little goes a long way with that stuff. And it will stay this color, this nice deep color. That's the color it's supposed to be. So stand by. We'll be right back. So elapsed time, give or take about 10 or 12 minutes. Take it off from one end, work your way up, and then the second pass, you start at the opposite end, and you're lightly rubbing it. You don't have to work it. You're not washing the car. All you're doing is treating the fretboard. And by the way, while you're doing this, it's kind of cleaning off any residual stuff off of the, it's helping to clean off residual tarnish off of the frets. And you get a little bit of black stuff, right? And that was from the first pass. Now, we move on to polishing. Last step, I put a little polish on there because I can, and then we should. It removes tarnish, as you'll see. They look clean and shiny now, and they're far smoother than they were, but you'll see what's going on here in a second. All right, put a little bit right in the corner. You usually start at the low end, and all you do is dab it on there a little bit. Yeah, it's messy. Go down to about the 7th fret, give or take, and get after it. Many of you have seen this. Well, that's what's coming off. That's tarnish. And yeah, it matters. Little elbow grease. It's messy. Try to use a clean part of the cloth each time. It's just paper towel. You can use, if you want to use a cloth microfiber, knock yourself out, but not necessary. Every one of these is going to give off that little bit of tarnish. And in this case, quite a bit of tarnish. Yeah, that's just from the first 7 frets, right? Clean off the excess. Rinse and repeat. We ended up there at the 8th fret. I'm just going to continue on. Stand by. So the last step is to take one last clean cloth, and by the way, this is what happens when you go through and polish. You see, took all that tarnish off of those frets. Now this is the reveal moment. The one last step that you want to do is just go over the top of each fret. Just a regular paper towel, that's all it takes. Now if you're getting anything more than that, if you're getting a hard line, you got to do it all over again. Everything. This one's not that bad. See, it's not that bad. This is the last step. And then I'm going to really look at it close because I love to see the before and after. I know the camera doesn't pick up on all the little micro scratches and abrasions and things that happen on frets because we're putting steel cable over them. And yeah, shit happens. Smooth as a newborn baby's ass. Pardon my French, but yeah, I impress my own damn self sometimes. I gotta say. This process that I use is constantly evolving. I'm constantly finding new, better products to use, and every guitar is different. Some of them need more, some of them don't need quite as much, but I try to do some version of this process on every guitar when I have it apart and I'm cleaning it and I'm doing the, conditioning the fretboard. I want to get after the frets, pay attention to them. That's where the rubber hits the road. That's where the music happens. So that's the most tactile part of the entire instrument, where your fingers are pushing strings onto frets. Stand by. I'm going to take a brief pause here. It'll be instantaneous for you, but I want to get the strings on it. And then we're going to go to doing the setup because I'd like to get it all in one video. Stand by. So we're coming to the end of this video. I was hoping we could get everything in it, but maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no. I wanted to show you the interesting thing about stringing a Bigsby. As you can tell, I have E, A, D, G, B on. We're going to the high E. So you can fish it through under the stop bar this way. The way I prefer to do it is put a slight bend in the end of it and push it through this way so that you can grab it. Get it up here, let it go. Now, this thing has to go over this stop bar, and the string ball has to catch on the tang under there. And the way you do that is you bend it in that direction, you pre-bend it. And there is no easy way to do this, because whichever way you try to bend that string and put it through there, it's going to try to turn the other way. So you fish it through there, and usually if you have a pick, that helps. And the high E is always the hardest one to do, but I wanted to try to show how I do it. And you'll know when the tension of the string is going to try to turn the other way. Let it turn that way, and then start over, get it fished back through there, and then get it started on the tang. There you go. Then grab the excess. Yeah, I love my job today. The high E is always the hardest one. Keep tension on it. Usually, once you get it pulled and there's a little bit of tension on it, you're okay. Now remember, all the other rules apply. Saddle, under the stop bar, and then to where it's going to live on the headstock in the tuning machine. Measure to the next tuner, bend it, stick it through, and hopefully it doesn't pop off. If it does, you deal with it. Push it through, stop at the bend. Again, all the same rules apply. The first wrap goes above the string hole, and every other wrap successively below it. Neatness counts. Into the nut slot, make sure that you're in the saddle before you put any tension on it. Now, you'll notice I'm going to move down slightly. You'll notice I have a headstock tuner because I don't want to over tension the headstock yet. Normally on an acoustic or even an electric, I will tune, when I'm stringing up an instrument, I will tune past by ear what I know is pitch 440 because I'm pre-stretching the strings. I am treating this like an acoustic, and as I go, I'm tuning up right to the point. I don't want to put any extra tension on the headstock that we repaired. I'm not worried about this repair, but you know, I'm not going to go way past and put a lot more tension on it if I don't have to. Now, once we've gotten to this point, you would think that it's going to be just a regular setup, but it's not. And that's why I decided at this juncture we're going to stop because of the major surgery and reattachment of a limb up here. I'm going to let this instrument settle overnight and maybe even into the next day and keep tuning it up to pitch because I need it to settle. This could take a couple of days to settle. And normally, anyway, with any instrument, it could take a couple of days to settle. So that's why we're going to stop. When we come back, hopefully this thing hasn't snapped off in the middle of the night. I'm joking. We will complete the setup on it, but it's already starting to sound like an instrument. We're breathing new life into this Riviera, this Epiphone Riviera. We glued the headstock back on. I know you guys didn't get to see that, but you've seen it before, and I've got a lot of videos on it. Just search it. Yeah, it happens. It happens on Gibson type instruments a lot more often than you would think. But we have it on there. We have it strung up. We took some time, cleaned it. We, of course, did the frets and everything because, as I always say, if not now, when? It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thank you so much for watching. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. And by all means, share. We'll talk soon.